Okay, so now what I like to do, so we have actually the preview of Kill Order. And James Mark is going to join us in studio, the director of the film that's going to be featured at BITS, the Blood in the Snow Film Festival here in Toronto. By the way, the screening is tomorrow. That's Friday the 24th at 7 p.m. at the Royal Cinema. They've done a fantastic job. Looking forward to this movie. The director on the other side. Here's a scene from Kill Order. See, I love this stuff. Look at this. You don't know how badly I want to be able to do this like in a Sobeys. Seriously. Or in a bar, or... Oh, yeah. That's incredible. That's incredible. Ooh. That's you, Russell. That's what I'm doing to you. Kill Order. See, that was pretty good. See what I did there? We have James Mark in studio. He's the director of the movie. Thanks for joining me here this morning.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Mike.
That looked awesome.
Thank you.
So does that mean that you're also you know what's going on the martial arts world? That's your background.
The background I come from. I was originally a stuntman.
Okay, just move this a little closer. I know it's a little weird.
No worries.
I always feel bad doing that to guys. They're like, "What are you doing? What are you, Harvey Weinstein?" No. Just moving this. Just move this a little closer. So you're a stunt guy, and that's a very niche. Like you got to be very specialized, very I think sort of gifted in a lot of areas. You have to understand all the cinematic process, but you got to be tough as nails. You got to be very flexible. But you have decided to now direct this movie. So how does that come about?
I got interested in directing a while ago when I started doing some online viral videos with my core martial arts stunt team.
Right.
So we put out this fun video called Jedi Ninjas, which is basically like ninjas with lightsabers because we love Jedis and we love ninjas.
Right.
And it kind of blew up on the net. It got like 1 million views in a week, I think, and I think it's got 4 million to date. And,
we will link that today. I'll send that out there
sure.
For sure. Our audience would love that. Absolutely.
It's a fun video. And then a company picked us up to do a web series called Ultimate Fan Fights.
Now, was that a Canadian company?
This was an American company,
okay.
IGN. They're a big online gaming magazine. And we did this series, 6 episodes, which is different superheroes fighting each other, and you get to vote who wins. And
it's awesome.
I directed those videos with my brother, as well as Jedi Ninjas, and kind of got a liking to it and thought I'd take a stab at the feature world.
Well, that's fantastic, and it is. It must seem like a big leap, though. Like, what is the biggest difference from when you're doing viral videos and you're doing the Jedi Ninja stuff, and then all of a sudden you're doing something because it looks good? Like in the day, a lot of people would say, "Oh, looks Canadian."
Right.
There's that, and basically that had to do with money and sophistication of equipment. But that does not look Canadian to me.
It's an immense difference going from video to feature because you have a long-form narrative that you need to factor in. You need to hold the audience's attention for the duration of the film and build relationships and characters. And this film was a big learning curve for myself and a stepping stone.
Now, did you ever think at any point, because I'm thinking if it's me and I'm making all the kinds of videos that I would make at my house, and I think you know what I'm talking about, and then all of a sudden, now it's there's a lot. There's gaffers and best boys or key grips or what are those people do, and do you ever think, Well, maybe I'm over my head here. Have I made too big a step?
Not during the process.
No.
Maybe afterwards, you look back and go, okay, maybe you were a little too ambitious with some things, but no, we always felt comfortable in the positions that we were in when we took this endeavor on, and we knew what it was for and what it was going to be in the end. We're very happy with what we've accomplished.
So what was the toughest part? Because you obviously know, and I would assume in movies like this and things that you've done for a living, the choreography of what you're supposed to do during a fight.
Right.
So I would think that you'd have a great that would be very natural for you to understand that. What were the things that were a little bit harder in this that you had to really think about? Like, is it necessarily like storyline? Is it the in directing to make the actual acting not just 100% punch in face, bar and head? You got to think about other things. Was that harder for you?
Well, fortunately for this, the storyline's not too complex. We allude to a bigger storyline, but we don't get into much details. We tried to focus on the action as much as possible. The hardest part of making this was probably making the actual film, producing it. We had a small crew, financing it. I wore many hats, as most independent filmmakers do. I edited it, produced it with a partner, wrote it, directed it. I'm in it. I helped make the stunts. So that was probably.
Now, are you the star? Are you the star of the movie?
No. That's my brother.
Okay, because I thought if it's me, I'm making myself the star too.
Yeah. No. My brother starred in the film.
Yeah. So, families looking at this, they must be very excited for you, though, I would think. They got to be excited.
My family?
Yes.
Yeah, they're excited. They're proud. Yeah.
Like, do they realize maybe it's more than just, you being in your basement beating each other up thinking that you're Yoda or something?
Yeah,
There's
definitely.
Got to be a little bit of that.
I think they see a viable career path in the
Right.
future if I stick with it.
Now, when you talk about financing and those kinds of things, that can't be easy.
No.
So what is the process in looking for money? Because that's really what we're talking about.
Well, every film is different in how it comes about, and in Canada, I find a lot of people rely on grants
Right.
and tax credit financing, whereas we financed this completely 100% private equity.
Okay.
So that was just based on a network we'd built over the years.
So people believing in you then. This has to happen.
That's basically what it is.
Yeah.
People believing in you, a little bit of nepotism, people willing to take a chance and invest in something that you're passionate about. And we're very passionate about filmmaking.
Now, do you have a family business? Is there something that your family would gravitate towards, not necessarily filmmaking?
My brother and I run a martial arts school, mostly headed by my brother, but no, there isn't a family business that relates to this.
So when you go to uncle and say, we're going to make a movie, and usually that's when the uncle fakes a seizure or something, or coughing, or they can't make the meeting.
Yeah.
But you didn't have that. People came to the table.
No, they came to the table.
Like, how much is a movie? People always want to know. How much is a movie, something like that?
More than it should be.
Are we talking seven figures?
Close to.
Wow.
Yeah.
7 figures.
There's a lot of working components.
Like Russell does a lot of stuff in his bedroom, who's running the board there, that
Right.
He does it for free. They're different kinds of movies, though. They're, I guess you call them action to a degree. They have names for each other. It's kind of weird, but, they do that kind of stuff.
Right.
But if someone takes a look at this, because filmmaking, I would think over the years, where you needed a studio,
Right.
you needed like a massive infrastructure because everything was so expensive. Quite frankly, the equipment was so big.
Right.
But now, we're talking. Obviously you're not shooting on this, but the cameras. These are 1080p cameras that we're using right now.
Mm-hmm.
They're tiny. There's not people moving around in a studio.
Yeah.
So that part has changed a little bit. Has it made it cheaper necessarily or easier?
It's definitely made it easier. Things are more accessible to people, whereas they weren't before. People kind of come up in this digital era. They're comfortable with computers and technology and editing. They learn to do it themselves. That's why you have all these different YouTube channels that are very successful, and people are able to do them on their own accord. So the digital devices and technology that you can utilize to make a film definitely helps bring the cost down and make things possible. But having the experience to know how to utilize that properly... That just comes with trying to do it. So now we have a better idea after making trial and error along the way, right?
We're in conversation with James Mark here on rawmikerichards.com. Those watching live right now on the dedicated YouTube channel, or if you've downloaded on iTunes, Google Play, TuneIn, the movie's called Kill Order. If you're in the Toronto area, you're listening right now or you're watching right now, it's the Royal Cinema. So it's part of the Blood in the Snow, the BITS Film Festival, and that's once again 7 p.m. tomorrow. That's the 24th. And becoming a part, how did you get to be a part of the film festival? Did you look out for or search them out, or did they find you?
So we have a Canadian sales distributor or sales agent named Raven Banner Entertainment, and they submitted our film to a number of festivals, one of them being Blood in the Snow, who graciously accepted our film and decided to premiere it here in Canada.
Well, I think because I'm trying to think when he was in here, when Kelly was in here. It's probably about at least 3 weeks, maybe a month ago. Kelly Michael Stewart, who's the festival director and founder, and because I think it's a great idea. That was a fascinating interview with just the depth of the things that he knew and the things that he wanted to bring. Right. Because Canadian film is something that we think necessarily has to go to some of the bigger festivals, and whether it's TIFF but the reality is, because of filmmaking has become smaller necessarily, that. Where do you get a chance to show some of these films? So this must be big in terms of, well, you tell me, is it distribution? Is it just recognition? Is it people seeing your work? What is it?
I think it's people seeing your work. Like, at the end of the day, that is what we strive for. This film we made for us and for people who have a taste for this type of genre film. And it's not a typical film because of our backgrounds. We're not highly recognized individuals in the filmmaking field, so we wouldn't normally get a theatrical release in Canada, and this is a perfect venue that puts it in the theater and allows the general public to come in and take a look.
Now, when you talk about having your own martial arts school and so on, so what is the discipline that is, or do you teach a lot of them?
We teach primarily Taekwondo,
and
we also teach what's called Extreme Skills Development, which is a program that
we created. Sounds bloody. That sounds something that I would like, maybe a little over the top.
It's actually more showy. It's like
more showy. That's good too.
Related, yeah. So we had a live stage entertainment team for many years where we did acrobatics mixed with martial arts.
So we just saw in slow motion. We saw in the trailer the guy going through the air,
spinning in the air.
Who's that?
That's my brother.
That's your brother doing that.
Yeah.
Can he beat you up?
In a sparring match? Yeah, he probably could beat
me. He could beat you up?
In real life?
In real life?
I don't know.
Yeah.
He might say otherwise.
And so it's just so interesting that you have done this, and I think a lot of people, I'll be honest, with the advent of MMA,
right?
Because there was a time where, if someone said they were a wrestler, depending on who you're talking to, they either thought WWF or WWE, or they thought, Greco-Roman, Olympic style, or if you go to Ohio State or Iowa or, one of those big, Oklahoma, one of the big wrestling schools. Now they've combined them. MMA is massively huge. That's why we talk about UFC. That's why we have some of the people on the show that we do. I've talked to Dana White a couple times. Does that cross you or your brother's mind at the time that you're doing all this? Even though you're in the stunt world and you've got a school, do you ever think maybe I should give this a shot?
No.
It never did.
No, because what we do is very tailored towards entertainment. So it's not practical, except for Taekwondo. But on the entertainment front, everything we do is about making it look like the person's being injured or hurt, or making it look flashy, making it look exciting. It's not real, so. No, I'd never be interested in stepping into a ring with GSP. I've met GSP, and I definitely wouldn't want to step into a ring with him.
No. It's so interesting. Talking, they used to shoot. It was Kung Fu, the second, the remake of it, and I think it was in the 90s, I want to say, and they shot that up here in Toronto.
The series. Yeah.
The series.
Yeah,
that's right. The series. And so David Carradine comes back, but the thing about David Carradine at that point in his career, you wanted him to do the choreography and the fighting before lunch.
Right.
Because after lunch, it was martini time. And you're not so sure that those punches and the throws or so on were exactly where they were supposed to be.
No, not back then.
How close is that? Like, I mean, people always say, Chuck Norris, they talk about the different guys who have made, even going back to Bruce Lee, just how good were they at those kinds of things. And I don't think David Carradine was in that category. But what about a Chuck Norris? What about when growing up? How could you not see Bruce Lee? How good were those guys really? Like, how good were they?
Oh, they're phenomenal. Those guys are phenomenal martial artists, definitely. Regardless of the movie itself. Right. Yeah.
Because people get confused. They're like, well, they can make Bruce Lee look that fast. And people said, no, Bruce Lee was that fast.
Yeah, no, Bruce Lee was that fast.
So is he
He's an inspiration.
So is he a god to you? Really?
Yeah,
are you?
For sure, definitely. Yeah. Growing up, Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan specifically.
And Jackie Chan. See, because I wasn't sure if that was seen sometimes even more comedically, because he kind of got into that. But is he a legit guy?
He's legit. That's his style. He grew up in the Chinese opera, learning martial arts and acrobatics. And
so, what would his discipline be?
Well, I'm sure he's done a number of things over the years, just to constantly expand his knowledge in martial arts. But I was fortunate enough to work with one of his main stunt people for many years in the Hollywood industry. So.
Because he like when he'd go through the car windows and stuff like that, he's kind of famous for that stuff.
He's phenomenal. His athletic ability is through the roof.
And he wasn't
unparalleled.
And he wasn't young when he was doing that.
No. Yeah.
Like he was like a massive movie legend in China before he even came here.
That's right. For many years.
So what do you think is going to happen then after this film? What do you hope to have happen?
Well, we hope to do another film.
Yeah.
Hopefully soon. We're looking at doing one next year.
Can I be in that film? I think I'd be really good in that film.
And we'll definitely call you for the casting.
Like a purse thief. I've always thought, the bad guy goes, in those movies, oh, you're not so tough. Sorry to do that voice. You're like, okay, doing the stereotype voice, are we now? Are we doing the dubbed voice? You're not so tough. But maybe get kicked in the head, in the face, or I wouldn't head chopped off. If you got something like that going on, I would love to be a part of that.
Yeah, we'll keep that in mind.
Yeah. Now, where are you from? Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Huntsville, Ontario.
Huntsville, I know Huntsville. I love Huntsville.
Yeah, I love Huntsville. My parents are still up there.
Oh, they're still up there.
Yeah.
Okay, so your school was in Toronto or in Huntsville?
Where I trained or where we teach?
Where you teach?
I started training in Huntsville,
right?
And then when I moved to Toronto, I trained here. And we teach out in Scarborough. So
you're Toronto area now, but you grew up in Huntsville. High school is Huntsville for you?
High school is part Huntsville, part Toronto.
So what's it like being an Asian guy in Huntsville? Did they just assume of course martial arts. That's the thing that we think. Everybody is this martial art expert. But how does it come to be in Huntsville, Ontario, for you that you would even think of this?
Yeah, and I was also a competitive gymnast at the time, so that kind of was a little different from the norm in Huntsville of hockey or snowboarding.
Smoking, drinking beer, those kinds of things?
Yeah. So, but when I learned to backflip, I became pretty popular at house parties.
Yeah. See, now it's starting to feel more Huntsville now.
Yeah.
Now we're going, hey, let's let James do a flip over here. Yeah.
But that was my entire high school.
Oh, that's right. Well, again, it's a fascinating story. As I said, the Blood in the Snow Canadian Film Festival. How many days do we have left of this, by the way? So there's four days. This is the big weekend. The Royal Cinema, and I think it's the first time that it has been at this particular location. So if you'd like to go and see it, I'm sure it's going to be fabulous. I wish you all the success in the world.
Thank you.
And keep in touch because, again, these things start off, and anyone, at some point, Lucas, made a very small film. You just don't know where it's going to go. And as I said, with the popularity of MMA, guys are going to see this. So if you like science fiction, and you want to mix it with martial arts, that's really what you've done, correct, in this movie?
That's right, yeah.
So who wrote it, though? Who came up with this idea?
I wrote it.
Okay, so he's doing everything.
I did.
Right,
I did a lot of things.
Yeah.
We had limited budget at the time. So.
And how long did it take you to do this?
It's taken 4 years
yeah.
to have this come out to the theater.
People think it's great to do this, and they go, "What do you mean 4 years?"
4 years of my life.
Yeah, and they're like,
and
4
my
years?
wife's.
Yeah, and because you got to have an understanding wife for this one.
Yes.
Yeah,
I couldn't have done this without my wife.
No, she's not in the film. Is she a movie person?
She's not in the film. No, she's a teacher.
No,
she's a 9 to 5.
What does?
Or 9 to 3.
What grade?
6.
Ooh, 6. So she's probably tough herself.
She is.
She probably knows some martial arts.
She runs the house.
Yeah, I bet she does. James, thanks so much for coming in here. Once again, the movie is called Kill Order. It is tomorrow, screening at 7 o'clock at the Royal Cinema. Thanks so much for coming in.
Yeah.
What? Did we just become best friends? Yep.